And hello guys, well, I'm doing a bit of a different video today, just because I felt like it and I'm bored. I finished Bioshock Infinite last night, so I just thought I'd give my little bit of an opinion on it. And if I ever, any games I do finish, I might do others, but I doubt it, because I don't have the money to spend on games. So, yeah, let's start. I guess you all want to know the main thing is the story, because that's what I got Bioshock Infinite for. I heard an amazing story. Is it true? Yes, it is true. It's very nice. Like, the character Elizabeth, you do get attached to her. Like, they have enough interesting little dialogue bits and, deep moments to build an overall character. And I generally felt for her. You're locked in a tower most of your life, and I felt good, rescuing her. Most of the time I went with he actually went with what the character was doing. Sure, I was watching Tobiscus, and he was saying the amount of shooting and things you do can sometimes detract. Maybe sometimes I'll admit the combat isn't as good as the first Bioshock or second, but it's still very good. And what I do like is since you can't store health kits, it does make it better. It makes it more tense, it makes it feel a bit more conventional, but I think in a good way. The gunplay was quite good. Disappointment was no weapon wheel. I would have loved a weapon wheel. And the vigors were good. Okay, I like the Bucking Bronco, and you could still use them in very interesting ways. In the combat, I tried pulling off those combos, and I couldn't quite work it out. But the one thing which annoys me is the weapon upgrade. If you're gonna have that, I feel it's way better to have a weapon wheel. Because you're upgrading it, and you can still have all the other weapons. It's like upgrading a gun, and you don't manage to use that gun that much. It's like, because you have to drop it and you only get to pick up 2 weapons. The enemy variation, don't get me wrong, I love the Patriots. I mean, they were very good AI, I would say. They did some good jobs of moving about, and they killed me quite a bit. It's not an easy game. The Patriots are cool. I like the last battle, was good, quite infuriating. I wish I would have had maybe one end boss, and people saying the Songbird. Let's just say that's not as big a part as I thought it would be. But it's still a device. It's a really interesting sort of part of the story. And what else can I say? I mean, the handyman. I liked him. I thought he was just as scary as the Big Daddy. I think the Big Daddy was still one of the scariest things I faced. Whenever I had to do it, I was like, oh fuck, not good. But he was still he was a good challenge. He's a good sort of. They didn't put him in too many times so that it was infuriating. They put him in just enough time so that it was a good challenge. I like the system how when you die you lose money, because it punishes you. I know it sounds like I usually don't like it, punishment, but it made you more inclined to stay alive, and that was a good way of not making it too easy. Because if you did that and you just kept on dying and not losing money, you'd have so much money it would be way easy. So yeah, I wish the only annoying thing, for example, there is that the choir boy person, which they showed in Dev's diaries, and he literally only appears a small amount, I think 1 level. Granted, it's a nice way to do a bit of stealthing. I did enjoy that section. That was a good way to break it up a bit. But towards the end they tend to spam the gun Patriots, and it's they have some cool at the early levels. I like the crow people who can teleport with crows, so you got to be careful with them. I think the one thing which really does, without it, I don't think the combat would be half as fun. the skylines. The skyhooks are just so fun to sort of whiz about, you know, drop on some people. Easy enough to use, which is good. You don't want some too hard system to use, or you just wouldn't go on them. So I would say the combat not as good as the first Bioshock. Maybe second Bioshock a bit better. No, actually, I'd say it's not as good. I'd say it's still good, but I would say compared to the other two games, you know, it wasn't as impressive. I still enjoyed it. I mean, I had fun, but towards the end, I was like starting to feel a bit of fatigue. But you know, the main thing for me, it still kept my interest for most of the game. But sometimes, and the ghost battle there's a cool little battle, which is midway. I quite liked it. It was a good way to sort of break off just having normal henchmen type people. So yeah, acting. Elizabeth did a brilliant job, like doing her voice acting. You could feel proper, because I was watching some Dev Diaries, and how can I say? You know, I saw like the actors were getting well into it, and you could tell that in the voice acting. It was very good. It definitely helped sort of get attachment to Elizabeth. Booker DeWitt, good voice. I thank God he had some voice, because silent protagonists very rarely work for me. I say some nice. I did like the characters of the two, sort of the woman and the man. The like odd people who sort of come in at different bits and then they disappear. You know, and that was good. How I dealt with like the universes was good enough for me. Like, they didn't do it so much that you got confused. They did it in a nice, sizable chunk, which is good. The only thing, like, when you help, let's say because at the start there's like two sides. There's these revolutionists, and it just feels weird how you know you do all this and then they start wanting to kill you straight away, because apparently you're meant to die in one universe or something. So that was a bit like, maybe they don't have to have this much combat. But I think generally it was very good, and they didn't shove the racist sort of side of Colombia in your face. It was very sort of, you had to explore to get more, which I like, because I like exploring, basically. And some of the actual bits where she does this really emotional bit and then you go straight to the fighting. I can get why some people might, like, sometimes that reduces the emotional sort of impact of it. But there are some very emotional, impacting scenes. Especially when the first time you kill with Elizabeth around. She don't like that at all. The end, well, let's just say I was really good ending. I personally thought it was brilliant. The way it tied it all in, and I'm amazed we managed to tidy it all in very tidily. That was really good. You might get a bit confused. I've figured out most of it, you know, and I'm still thinking about it. I was like in bed, I was thinking, what happened there and what happened there? You know, it's like there's so many possibilities. I guess DLC, you know. And I felt good. You know, it gave me the feels in here, which is what you want. You want the feels. Didn't quite cry, because very few things make me cry, like games and movies. So yeah, I would say overall the best bit is the story. Combat's alright. It's quite good, but it can get a bit stale sometimes towards the end. But I would still, you know, it's not like game breaking, boring or anything. It's better than a lot of average first-person shooters. Let's put it that way. The World of Colombia is really good. Some people say, oh, you don't get to spend enough time in Colombia. I disagree. You get a really good time to explore at the start. Midway through, you get some nice calmness as well. So you get to sort of, like, you go into the sort of casino bit and you do some more exploring. Towards the end, you still get to have those quiet moments, but of course everything is sort of destroyed. So you're sort of just looking at the buildings destroyed and all that. So I'd say the pacing is quite good. Maybe if they didn't have to have as many fights. I think they should have done more sort of, you know, deep moments. But it was still pretty good. And overall, I would say this is worth getting this game. It's just for the ending in my mind. The story is just, I loved it. It slows down towards the middle, yeah, I'll agree with some people, but I think the ending was just one of the best endings I've seen in a game. It was just really, it was a mindfuck ending, but it was such a good mindfuck. Anyway guys, that's my opinion on the game. And before I go, graphics, very good. Very Disney-ish, we have a sort of Disney feel. But it's still realistic, you know. Good enemy design as well, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. So I hope you enjoyed that little view on the game, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!